much in between, things we've never seen. You're a mirage that my mind can't see through. Are you here with me? One day we can see. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. Yeah, I know that time makes ways. All my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. And will my light be there one day? All I know is frozen waves, but I'm hoping time makes ways. I'm holding on to the image of you, live from far away, information highway. You're a mirage that my mind won't cling to. Though you're far away, we can make a way. All my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. Yeah, I know that time makes ways.
Through all of this, you told me that you loved me so much. But now we're here, and I can barely breathe. Inside my head, I pulled apart all the pieces to only see I've always wanted you. So let's take this time to feel it all, no lies. 'Cause if we don't, the fight will eat the life. Stuck in self-destruct, and we can't wake up.
Tinsley sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Barbizzel FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordy Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they are going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your front there.
He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
This is going to win.
Only 4 races remain, and 2 of those are the 90-minute endurance rounds. While an extra 30 minutes might not seem like much, the double points on offer means a good finish today is crucial. Let's see who brings home the lion's share at Spa as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on FTF.gg. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and I'll be joined later by IMSA driver Michael Johnson. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson. As we mentioned, we're here at a classic Spa Francorchamps with qualifying already wrapped up. The drivers are gritting, waiting for the drivers' meeting to wrap as they go over all that they need at this legendary circuit. It is a tradition that it shows up at least once on pretty much every season of Autobahn. So why don't we take a look and see at what that starting order looks like here today. It was a right battle for the pole position. Shane Larson wound up taking it at the very end over Max Muir, and it was by the smallest of margins, about 13 hundredths or thousandths of a second. Paul Gibson behind them, just a few more hundreds back there in third position. Dominic Dornenberg, who's fighting for the championship, qualifies fourth, but he's a quarter of a second off of third place, so he's a bit of a ways back. David Williams will start fifth today as Ryan Washaleski will be P6 and Nathan Dowd will begin in the 7th position. Then it is Billy Smith in P8 and Kevin Binkley in 9th, followed by Leif Peterson, the last of our GTPs qualifying 10th today. We get to the LMP2s. Jeffrey Ooms takes another pole position. He has looked like an absolute force this season, so we'll have to watch out for him. Robert Cast going to be starting next to him, coming off of a win last time out, as Thomas Fisher will start in third in that LMP2 class, and Carter Kundinger will begin from 4th position. Robert Tinsey starts in 5th today, followed by Brian Bennett in 6th and Christopher Pies in 7th. Paul Schmudlock will start 8th, and then only 9 cars here gritting up today. Mo Islam will be the last of them there in 9th in LMP2s. You get to the GTDs, which starts off with the GTD Pros. Young Park going to be on the pole for that class over Alex Simonik, and it is going to be Bradley Haley starting in the 3rd position. Michael Marlowe will be outside of row 2. And the surprise is Ross Booth, who has taken most of the wins this season in GTD Pro, only starting 5th today. He's a bit off the pace in comparison to Park. Eric Sterpoli will start in 6th. Then Michael Ross will be 7th. Then we get to the pole position for the GTD AMs, Franco Margarella, who comes off of a win last time out. Ryan Robertson will start 9th overall of the GTDs. 2nd in the AMs goes to Ed Eisenring, 10th overall in the GTDs. Then it's Tom Hammond starting 11th, and then 3rd of those AMs will be Sheldon Rosenbaum, but 12th of the touring class. Then you've got Trent Brown in 13th, followed by Cameron Bidwell, 14th. Zach Michaelis will start P15 today. Mark Kudrowski will be in the 16th spot, And he's got Dale Green on the inside of the next row, starting 17th. Chris Sherburne will be P18, and Trevor Vavroski will be 19th. Austin Diltz starts 20th today, and 21st goes to Morgan Smith. So 21 cars in the GTDs, but 40 cars overall in the entire field getting ready to start this one. This is a track that definitely still tests drivers, but since it is a modern F1 track, they do have a lot of paved runoff out here. And since it's an endurance round, they've upped the number of incidents they can rack up. It is 30x before they get a drive-through, and then every 5 after that, they will get another drive-through penalty. But in 90 minutes, 30 is absolutely able to be hit if you're just a bit sloppy out there. So watch out for things. Could get a bit interesting if you find yourself struggling. And, of course, if you make any sort of car contact, that'll suck up a lot of those right there as we take a glance at a few of the cars here lining up, getting ready to go. All the talk lately here on iRacing has been about the rain coming soon. While we won't see it today, you got to think this is one of those tracks where we're going to see a lot of the precipitation show up during races. So this might be one of our last dry ones for a while before we start to get some dampness here in the Belgian Ardennes. Looks like the pace car is ready to lead them away. Short pace lap, thankfully. Shane Larson going to take control of the field. This is the GP layout. So they will start and finish on the GP pits where you traditionally see F1 doing so. This is going to be interesting with Larson looking very fast today. It's been mostly Muir and Dornenberg who have been kind of trading blows up at the top and have been fighting for the championship. So Shane could be a sort of a wrench in things. Let's see what it looks like when he gets to the line, as the pace car is going to peel off into pit lane once they get into the bus stop chicane here. What kind of start are we going to see down into La Source, which is notorious for wrecks, for pileups at the starts of races, even for these rolling starts. Here it is, and green flag is out. Shane Larson with a pretty good jump over Muir. That is going to help him out tremendously as long as he can cover off the inside, and he does go slightly defensive, is very close between himself and Max. Little bit of door banging farther back, but everybody's through amongst our GTPs. Meanwhile, down in the LMP2s, Jeffrey Ooms gets a very good start over Robert Cast, with Carter Kundir coming in behind as they now fly into La Source as well, and a very orderly start, nobody even making contact amongst them, and they'll head down towards Eau Rouge. Back to the GTDs. My goodness, there's a big stack up there a little bit farther back. One of the Lamborghinis trying to look down to the inside. That is Michael Marlowe, absolutely sending it 3 wide for the lead, and who sneaks through? It is Alex Simonik, and in fact the two behind, the Lambo and the Porsche, come together hard. Oh my goodness, our pole sitter is out of it by turn 1. Unbelievable stuff. Simonik has got to be grinning ear to ear, but his fight is not over. The slipstream is powerful at this track, and Staropoli is still behind him in P2. He's also got Bradley Haley in there. Looks like there was an issue with Ross Booth as well, as he is towards the back. So our two championship rivals having problems. In fact, Booth was with Franco Margarella, one of our championship hopefuls in GTD AM. This has been a disastrous start for championship hopefuls in multiple classes today. So down the hill we go now, as Simonik still leads ahead of Staropoli towards Pouhon. He's got at least a gap of about half a second over the 993 at this stage. Again, not comfortable yet, but certainly good enough by the time they get to the long straight up towards Blanchimont, because that'll definitely make a difference if he gets a good run on him. Our GTPs have already finished the first lap, and it is still Shane Larson leading Max Muir, with Paul Gibson running in the 3rd position. Dornenberg falls down to 5th as well. As we take a look now at our LMP2s, Jeffrey Ooms pulling away from Robert Cast. So he is going to try and see if he can get another win. It's his first since round 4 that he had back at Watkins Glen. Ooms, though, still finished second last time, which was important because he's fighting with Kundinger, and he continues to stretch his points lead over him. Right now, he's ahead of Carter, but it's not a whole lot. You can see the two of them racing together up across Eau Rouge. It's, in fact, going to be a very good tow for the 0-2. Let's see if he does anything here. Yep, he's going to stick his nose to the inside, coming up to Lacombe. And as they go to the braking, not a fight at all from Robert Cast. He's going to let his teammate by. In the meantime, we got a replay for the start. I think this is the accident that we had between the Lambo and the Porsche, fighting for second after that first corner. And yeah, just got a little clumsy with one another. And then the other incident was with Ross Booth, and I can't remember who else it was with. I think it was Michael Marlowe, potentially. No, it was Margarella. That's what it was. Yeah, it was Margarella into Eau Rouge, bouncing off and took out yet another driver. Oh, my goodness. I didn't notice that before. On their lid, that might have been Trent Brown, I think. No? Oh, yes, it was. It absolutely was. The blue shell found him in the end, unfortunately, and just about had it land on its side, which would have been impressive. And down at the end of the first lap, Ryan Robertson got a little clumsy trying to make a pass into the bus stop chicane. Unfortunately, gets tipped around in that Audi and falls farther down the field, but not to the very back. As we come back live, you can see still running and trying to figure out where he wound up, actually. Not seeing him on my timing tower right now. In the meantime, looks like actually 14th is where he is currently. So we come back now to our GTPs, coming up towards Lacombe themselves, already on lap 3. Can go relatively fast in these GTPs, but I say relatively, it's still 2 minutes around here in these cars. So this is a long, long circuit by any stretch of the imagination. Larson leading Muir, with Gibson still trailing behind. That's your top 3. David Williams in 4th. Dornenberg trying to get that position back as well. He's actually putting some pressure on in the background there to David Williams to see if... no, excuse me. Actually, it's Wasilewski putting pressure on Dornenberg that I'm seeing there. So that's interesting that Dominic having a bit of a rough start. It's a long race, though, and as we've seen, attrition could absolutely play a part of this, unfortunately. Because we've had a couple cars that seem to have gotten rocked in a bad way at the start of this race. Still sticking right to the rear wing of that 913. Wash is trying his best to try and see if he can shake something out of this car. As they now pick up speed. 2 Acuras verse one another. Coming up towards Blanchimont. A lot of downforce on these cars. Should be pretty well flat out through Blanchimont here, but still probably pretty marginal as well. Whoa, around the outside, and that looks to me like Dominic actually braked early and let him go. I doubt that Wash is that much better on the brakes, so he'll pick up P5 with a little bit of assistance from the 913. They'll carry on here on to lap 4 now. Just a mere 7 minutes into this race. This is for second place in the GTD Pro right now. Staropoli picked up that second spot after the early accident. Simonic is still ahead of him, though. Alex actually has gapped him by a couple more tenths. It's up to a second between them. Haley still clinging back there by about 0.7 of a second. Michael Ross also in and amongst them. And how about Ed Eisenring back there? There he is in the very, very background. Now in his Porsche, has gained many positions, 5 out of all of the GTD cars, and now leads the GTD AMs. And that is Tom Hammond, who is a GTD Pro, so he's not as concerned about that 63 sitting behind him right now. It is Zach Michaelis in the 44 back there that he wants to kind of keep that buffer of Tom Hammond between himself and Zach. In fact, that's a pretty good run there from behind Zach as Mark Kudrowski gets himself a little bit of a tow coming up towards Blanchimont themselves. Different story in these GT3 cars through this corner. much more difficult, and you can see he had to use the runoff off of there. That's going to be an incident point racked up by him, no doubt. While they have improved some of the margins on this track for what is considered an off track, you can still definitely go fully off and get them if you're just a little bit messy coming through that quick left-hander. Basically a 4-car train stacked up here, being led by Eisenring, that leader in the AM class, with Hammond, Michaelis, and Kudrowski all still together, expecting them to use the slipstream to try and close up. But the question is if they will use it to try and pass. Now, we saw in other cases drivers didn't fight it, and I wonder if that is down to wanting to let the other car lead. This is a 90-minute race, which means we will have at least 2 pit stops for all classes. And the reason that's important is because that means that fuel mileage makes such a bigger difference out here. We could see drivers try to play those games, let others push the air for them, and that will mean that you can have a much shorter second pit stop and get to the end that much quicker. A little bit of an issue for Paul Schmidlock down here. Had some sort of spin, it looks like, in the bus stop chicane. I think that was on his own. Meanwhile, Muir is caught up to Larson by a significant portion here. They're already approaching some lap traffic. That's Ryan Robertson, who's still carrying on from the start. Oh, and we've had a problem for Shane Larson, a big problem. He is into the wall at Pouwan. You do not have small accidents there. He's trying to get the car rolling. He gets it turned around. It does look to be tracking decently straight, but I highly doubt that that car is in 100% perfect condition after that thwack that it took into the barrier. So he falls to last in his class because of that mistake. David Williams promoted to third, Wasilewski to fourth, and Dernenberg gets back up into the top 5. Let's see from the onboard. Oh, the rear just starts going around. Wonder if the curbs maybe had a bit of to do with it. Hard to tell from that angle, but yeah, he took a good hit into the tires there on the outside. Let's watch it from outside the car. No, I don't think that was curbs. It looks like it was already going when he turned into that corner. So I suspect that was driver error, that one. Meanwhile, off of the final chicane, got a nice little fight back here. This is between Dowd, Peterson, and Binkley. This is for 7th in the GTPs. Peterson looking to make up for a poor qualifying. He's already up 2. Dowd actually down 2 from the start on this one. Oh, and we've now got a battle for the lead, actually fully on. Muir caught up to Gibson, and he has made the pass. Clearly, that caddy is fast today. Overtook the Acura with what looked like not too much hassle out there. We have 3 different makes of cars in the GTPs, a Porsche, the Acura, and the Caddy. Don't have any of the BMWs here. So it is just those 3 makes that are competing in this one, and they will each have their strengths and weaknesses, and the grunt of that Cadillac looks to be something to behold, although now he's got to deal with the traffic as he goes around Bradley Haley. Both of them managing to find their way through. This is where it gets very tricky, and you absolutely make your money in the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge because this can make or break things. It was awful close between Muir and one of those GTD drivers, just inches between them, and you can, look at the gap that has put between himself and Paul Gibson. That is what I just was talking about, that you could either lose a lot of time or gain a lot of time trying to deal with the traffic here in Autobahn. It's 3 different classes, 4 if you count the 2 different GTD classes, but they're in the same machinery. So it's really very little different from what you see in modern IMSA. In fact, it pretty much is the same classes of what you've got in modern IMSA. But at the same time, it's much shorter races, so things get a little bit frantic out there. Jeffrey Ooms, though, is more on a Sunday drive than he is on any sort of frantic run. because he's got about 3 seconds over Carter Kundinger at this stage. Kundinger, after passing cast early on, he's been able to try and gap cast, but has not been able to catch up to Ooms. So he's got some work to do if he wants to try and chase down the leader. Kundinger's fight pretty much with Jeffrey Ooms on this one. He's behind by about 35 points. It is double points here. So if he takes a win and Jeffrey has an accident, a major accident, falls down the order, he could definitely catch up by a bunch. But if he only passes and beats him, that 35-point gap is not going to go down nearly as much, even with the double points. So Carter not only needs to win here today, but he needs Jeffrey to have a bad day to really have a more realistic shot towards the end of the season. And like I said at the start, we only have 4 races left to go. So it is coming down to it. And that big of a gap, a normal race is a win is worth less than those 35 points. So that's pretty massive. Down through No Name as the sun sets here. In fact, it is nearly 8 o'clock virtual standard time here at Spa. So we might actually see the sun fully go down by the time this is over. It's been pretty cool here. Track temperature only at 67 Fahrenheit. Checking back in with our leaders in the GTDs. Looks like Simonic's not really been able to shake Staropoli. Bradley Haley about 2 seconds off of them now. Staropoli making sure to keep that pressure onto the 250, make him sweat, keep him honest. If he makes any sort of mistake out there, if the track of the faster classes comes around at a bad time at any moment, he'll be there to pounce on it in that Porsche. I'm sure he's not unhappy about having the tow here too. Like I said, being able to maybe save a bit, if you at least give himself a bit more pace as he rides on board. I can tell you it's about 2 miles an hour faster, it looks like, with that slipstream. So you'll see him close it down, and then gets to about 3 car lengths back before they hit the braking up into Lacombe. That is the power of being that close behind. Love these views at sunset around here. If we can stay on board here, you'll really be able to tell how much elevation change we've got here. Watch out of Speaker's Corner here, this left-hander. Down there, that is the start-finish line, those buildings that you saw way off in the distance. You climb up to the highest point of the track, and basically it is just massively downhill for almost the entire second half of the lap. Much of it right here, where it finally kind of levels out a little bit after Poulan into Fagny. Staying behind it by about half a second. Has been for much of the race. A little wide there coming off the chicane, though. Kicking up a little bit of the gravel. We'll be okay with that. Don't think it was an off track or anything, but don't want to get those tires too dirty out there. Did lose a little bit of time. It's about 0.6 of a second now up to Simonic. Bradley Haley still also hovering at about 2 seconds behind them. Oh, we've had a problem for Austin Diltz. In fact, it looks like this may have been a big wreck because he's pulled off to the side of the track just as a whole flock of cars go by. And I think that may have been out of Stavilo too. Oh, and we've got another big accident. One of the Audis here. That is Kudrowski, who's going to get it going. He's in 10th in the GTDs. He's fighting for the AM class. He falls to 4th because of that accident. Man, it's starting to come thick and fast with the traffic now. As you can see, the LMP2s have caught the GTDs, and they're still fighting hard as one of them flashes their lights saying, "I'm coming through," locking the tires up. That's Mo Islam, who's fighting not to be last in that class right now. So it sounds like we got a replay. Not sure if we're looking at Diltz or Kudrowski here. This looks like we're going to check out what happened at Diltz. So watch out of the second Stavilo. He's off the racing line. Catches a little bit of that runoff. Probably bumped the car up when it needs to be loaded and gripped down, and the rear just did not want to behave. Now, I haven't seen this yet with Kudrowski, and I have seen accidents just like that frequently, though, coming out of Blanchimont, where cars just lose the rear grip, and into the wall they go. Meanwhile, it is an absolute traffic jam coming down through the Rivage and No Name corners down to the inside. Robert Tinsley fighting to hold on to sixth spot as Christopher Pies is starting to lay it on. They'll try and sneak down through the inside. As they fight, they're also catching up, it looks like, to fifth in front of them. Thomas Fisher up there. In fact, it's becoming a four-car battle. Mo Islam is catching them now that they've been slowed up by that traffic. Another car to try and sneak through on the inside. Tom Hammond trying to stay out of the way. And Chris Pies has to check up. Here comes Mo Islam. He doesn't have a hole to sneak through, though. Just blocked it off in time to create a pick there, Christopher Pies. And he's going to regroup, see if he can attack Tinsley, who he's close behind here. In fact, he might also be just simply trying to defend a bit as they break down into the bus stop chicane. Robert Tinsley will hold him off. He's already regrouped, trying to catch up to Fisher, but he spins the wheels coming off of the bus stop chicane. Very close behind for Chris Pies, but not close enough. He's going to stay in line down through La Source. Still, look at them nose to tail here, this group. Looking to try and fight for that top 5 position. Getting close to the pit window opening here soon. About 10 minutes left before we hit the 1/3 mark exactly. At that point, you know these drivers should be able to make it. Now, this is probably a pretty thirsty track with how high speed it is and how much of it is flat out. Which means I have to imagine it's not going to be the biggest of pit windows. Back down the hill they go out of Malmedy. Coming up to some more traffic. This is going to be Michael Ross, Bradley Haley, Brian Bennett. So they're reaching the top 5. They're going to be less willing to give away time here, these front groups. But also you get to the more experienced drivers now who know how to position themselves. One gets through. Others have to wait patiently. Fisher gets a gap because of that. Robert Tinsley now has to play catch-up. Hope that the traffic will pay him back a little bit farther ahead as Bradley Haley's the next one through in his Ferrari. Oh, and also causes some hesitation as well. Tinsley wasn't sure which way to go on that one because the racing line goes back and forth across the track. That means once again, Chris gets another bite at the apple. He's got a very good toe. It's risky to go side by side through Blanchimont, though. Don't think he's going to quite try it. He's going to try and set him up for outbraking into the bus stop chicane. Will we see a defense from Tinsley? Yes, we will. Coming down into it. Almost tries to get inside of the GTD car. Not quite there. Pies can't also get the overlap yet. More spinning of the wheels by Robert Tinsley. He is pushing this car, coming off the turns to try and keep from getting swamped. That portion of the inside is not helping Pies whatsoever. That was Eric Staropoli. Made life a bit annoying there for the 453 momentarily. Then they go by Alex Simonik, our leader in that GTD class. Diving off to the side, Mo Islam losing touch with that quartet that we were talking about. Paul Schmudlock now has an opportunity to see if he can get at least one of the positions back that he lost earlier. He's run them down. Switching back and forth through Malmedy. Let's check in, though, in the meantime, on the AM lead. Did that just change hands? May have. Well, no, actually, Michaelis still leads. Rosenbaum now in second. I'm not sure if it did change before, but they are just apart by a couple car lengths. Cameron Bidwell is still chasing them, but he is not in the AM category. But that is a battle for the AM lead between these two. Eisenring trying to play catch-up to get back with him. He led at least for a little bit here in the AM category. As they work their way down through Pouan. Staying close to him, Rosenbaum knows he's got a good opportunity here. Have to check and see if we've gotten a win from Rosenbaum yet this season, because I'm not sure if we've seen him on the top step. There's a lot of people that have won so far, and Rosenbaum is not one of them. He has been on the podium, it looks like, but he has not taken a win. I'm sure this will be extra motivation for him, knowing that the chance is presenting itself. Up into Blanchimont once again. Not close enough there for the Ferrari. Sandwiched between two Porsches. Takes a wide exit coming off Blanchimont. It's going to cause him to be a bit slow here, and Bidwell closes in down into the break into the last chicane, but can't make an attack, at least this time through. Michaelis surely knows he's leading that AM fight right now. Knows that he is going to have to work hard on this one. Just in front of him, that is Tom Hammond that we're seeing glances of in his Audi. At what point will we see drivers start to pit in? We don't often see early stops, especially in these enduro races where you want to go as late as you can. Give yourself as big of a window at the end of the race as possible. Oh, this is definitely the best run we've seen yet from Rosenbaum. He's pulling him in. He'll look to the left-hand side just as they're overtaken by Max Muir. And under braking, they'll go side by side. Can he complete the pass? Michaelis is going to fend him off. Whoa, big stack up there behind him as Rosenbaum went back to the racing line just as Bidwell thought maybe he could sneak through. And Paul Gibson as well, interrupting things for a bit. Looks like this battle between himself and David Williams, as well as Wasilewski, going to cause a bit of a breakup in this fight. At least between Michaelis and Rosenbaum. Ooh, that is risky to go around the outside. Good thing Dornenberg checked up there. Don't think that would have been a wise thing to do. Looks like we are joined now by Michael Johnson. Michael, welcome up to the booth. It missed a bit of a crazy start for the GT cars as we saw our leader in the AM class get taken out at the start, and then our 2 points leader also wreck in Eau Rouge in separate incidents. So that has seen a massive shakeup, which is why we've got Alex Simonik at the top of that right now.
Well, I'm kind of happy to see a different name at the top. We've had a couple of names that were always there, but seeing Alex up there is great. Now, I got to tell you, this track, even in real life, not just in the sim, starts are always wild because the way you come through La Source, that first corner there, and then try to get down into Eau Rouge up through the twisty bit there to get down the Kemmel Straight, there's so much shuffling and jumping and moving around. It almost begs for an incident, and you have to feel lucky when you make it through a start without too much of one.
I mean, the good thing was those are really the two big wrecks that we saw at the start of the race, and then since then there was maybe a few little spins on the first lap, but nothing really major. Everybody's been pretty well behaved as Simonik gets passed by Max Muir, who continues to lead up in the GTPs. Max doing what he can to try and get himself in a better spot for the championship hunt over Dornenberg. Oh, and now we got another problem.
Ooh, that's not good. That's a bad place to be. It's a very fast section of track. Actually turning around a little backwards there, Leif Peterson having a tough time having to take the toe. That is just not a good position. And even from there, trying to take that toe is going to be a very, very long ride on the back of that tow truck.
And he wasn't alone in that one. Oh, we got another big wreck. Oh, my goodness. And that, I think, was Dowd and Binkley at the back of the GTPs. So now we've seen a few GTPs with problems here today. One of them able to carry on. But, yeah, Ryan Robertson was involved, I was going to say, in that other incident that we saw with Leif Peterson, and was not happy about the whole thing. Here's the replay of it. And, yeah, you can see him having to cut through the grass, and then he's going to lose control and spin out.
Yeah, I think that was just a little mistiming in the communication of coming through there. If you watch here, he just gets past him. The GT driver here is trying to give a little space, can't quite get it enough because there is a huge launch as you come through there. He's in draft of that GT car in front of him, and the next thing you know, you just haven't let off enough, and there's that second one taking out the nose on that GTP car.
And I can report that Robertson's still on the radio, rather irritated about what just went down. Billy Smith, in the meantime, is in pit lane taking service, so it looks like he's our first to blink, and he's joined by our friend Dowd after he had his wreck, so he's also going to try and take this opportunity to get a few repairs. Might as well take your stop now, I suppose. Back up to the front, though. Max Muir, man, it is up to 5.9 seconds, almost 6 seconds ahead of the nearest car now.
And you can see Max there using every last micrometer of track. I usually say millimeter, but with Max, it's really down to the micrometers. He is really pushing as far out to the limits of the track as you can possibly imagine. He's just, wow, he's a master at finding those right up to the limit points on every one of the corners.
Still waiting to see who else is going to be pitting in. This time by should be exactly the 1/3 mark for all the GTPs. So they are at a good point to try and split it up evenly if they so desire. But we're waiting for Simonic to come around. It'll be a little bit behind Muir. Got a nice fight here for the top spot. Alex and Eric coming out of Stavelo for the exit up towards Blanchimont, flat out up to here for quite a long time. It may not be fully straight, but they get so fast through here, Michael.
It is, for all intents and purposes, a straight where you just have to turn the wheel a little bit. And there's quite a pucker factor through the corner they just went through because you really have to set the car up to be able to take that turn at full throttle. So get the right balance, the right settings in your suspension, the right wing angle, and you really want to reduce the drag as much as you can, but getting that corner fast makes a huge difference in lap time.
Nobody's pit in yet in the GTD category. Still kind of watching that pit entry to see if anybody will blink this time, and no, everybody's staying out for the most part. We're already down to about 10th place and still haven't seen anybody come in to the lane as we continue to watch Simonic and Staropoli up and over Radion. Ooh, this is a good run for the 993. That Porsche is starting to gain. Will he be able to try and go for the pass? He's flashing his lights, seeing if he can distract Alex up into the braking zone, but looks like no dice. That was a little bit of an early lift from Eric.
Yeah, that's kind of a little fuel save and tire save move there. You don't want to push too deep, especially when you're chasing someone, because you're getting in that dirty air, and that causes you to slip and slide that car just a little bit more, and that is tire wear. It's going to wear them out, and you're going to lose the ability to really push it later in the race when you really, really need it. Now, look at that. Wow, that was close to the limit. I'm wondering if he might have picked up an incident point there, just a little bit wide. But as I always say, if you've got 17 before you get a drive-through, use 16. Use them all if you can get away with it.
Exactly, and they've got 30 of them to play with, but I certainly wouldn't want to use those up too early on this one. Checking to see what Simonic's results have looked like, and he's only been to 2 races before this one. He was at Road Atlanta and Watkins Glen with a 4th and a 3rd respectively. Not too bad, especially if he can come away with a win here today.
Yeah, a win would boost his boost his status quite a bit. It's always nice, especially at a track like Spa. If you can win here, it feels even extra special, and it doesn't matter if you're Belgian or not. This track has such a great history and is so much fun to drive. You find yourself, even just on the podium, there is just that special feeling like you've made a major accomplishment.
It's definitely a bucket list track, but coming through here, Islam, Pais, Schmudlach having a little bit of a tussle for these last three positions in LMP2. Islam at the front of the train, trying to see if he could shake them. And just up ahead, it's Robert Tinsey also for position, but he's starting to try and pull away from them. Coming up through Fanyes once again as they switch back and forth. This is where Mo needs a very good exit.
Yeah, right here, with these guys this close, there is definitely going to be a little bit of attempt to stay in that draft and catch up. They're not going to want to pass yet. This is right where you're going to set it up. And then going into the bus stop right at the end of this non-straight is where you're going to try to catch them under braking. There we go. Little looky-loo coming out there. Can he make it up the inside? Not quite enough. But look how much closer all three of those cars are now as to when they were coming out of the section earlier.
Still no pit stops amongst them, though. So they'll all stay out. Although Brian Bennett looks like he is going to take his service. He is in the number 71. And is that Muir that we're seeing? Yeah. Oh,
Muir. Yeah. Looks like Muir's in the pits. Yep. Just a couple of seconds down pit lane. And right behind him is going to be not Wasilewski, but I think Gibson.
Yes. Wash stayed out. Williams is in. Dornenberg is in. Billy Smith is already pitted, so we need him to cycle around to figure out where he will be. Yeah, everybody behind them is already pitted. Dowd and Larson as well. But actually, did we miss Larson having problems? Because he was up towards the front earlier.
He is currently behind Kundinger, so he must have had an issue, because Kundinger is LMP2. So I think he had a spin a little bit ago, and that is what put him back there, and he's now struggling to catch back up.
That's right. I had forgotten about that. So on lap 5, he got turned around, so he's on a fight back forwards. Looks like Muir returns in second, but will probably pick up the lead once again since he was fighting with Wash before. David Williams in behind, and Gibson with a longer stop. So here's where it gets interesting, Michael. These 90-minute races, you can choose to do a shorter stop the first time or the second time, or try to keep them even with one another. I'm getting the sense that Gibson, and it looks like Dornenberg as well, are going for at least one of their stops being longer, because they were both at 38 and 37 seconds.
Yeah, those long fuel fills there. We're looking at Dornenberg with the total cone-to-cone time of about 56 and a half. So this looks like a little bit longer stop compared to Williams, who, for example, cone-to-cone was only 49 seconds, and I think 51 for Max Muir. So right now, though, looking at the gap, Max has an interval of about 37 seconds up to Wasilewski. So I think that means Muir's going to be able to take over the lead again once Wash ends up going in to take his pit.
Got a bunch of the LMP2s pitting. Ooms, Kundinger, Tinsey, Pai, Schmudlach, Islam, Wasilewski now also pitting in. I think he's the last one that needed to stop in the GTPs, which means we should see Muir cycle back around. We're watching Simonic. GTD class almost always has the biggest fuel window of all the classes. And if they can make it to 45 minutes, they can one-stop it, but I don't think this is going to be a track that you can do that on.
This track is long and fuel hungry. There is so much time spent at full throttle here that you just can't. You can't try to play fuel games so much. Maybe in a 24-hour race, you can do some here and there, but one that's the length of this one, not a lot of opportunity. You don't have enough pit stops to really play with that.
Certainly, and they'll still try and shorten that last stop by saving some fuel. You talked about it earlier, the lift and coast that is available to you. Wash comes back out in fourth, it looks like. So your order in the GTPs is now the GTDs start to finally stop. Muir, Williams, Gibson, Wash, Dordenberg, your top 5 there. Let's see how it shakes out here in GTD Pro. Staropoli actually carries on.
Yeah, Staropoli carrying on there. Bradley Haley in second in the Pro. Michael Ross third. Simonic fourth, and Hammond fifth. Now, the thing about Simonic is just entering the pits. So this could be a good move for Simonic at this point.
Looks like Cast and Fisher also pitting, so that'll be the last of our LMP2s taking service. Bradley Haley stays out. Michael Ross. Still need Mark Kodrowski, Dale Green, and Christopher Sherburne as well. Sounds like we had a pass at the back of the field in the GTPs here, Michael.
Yeah, it looks like Shane Larson was able to catch up to Nathan Dowd and made a very nice, very clean pass into the bus stop right at the pit entry. So well played by both of those drivers, not trying to knock each other out, but trying to make it to the end of the race. But excellent job from both of them.
Cast must be struggling because he's coming out way, way behind Kundinger here. And Kundinger is behind Ooms by about 6.5 seconds himself. And in fact, it's looking out like more than 7 between P2 and P3. That means that Cast is probably a good 15 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, roughly 15 it looks like. And I'm also trying to take a look here at the AM class. We have Chris Sherburne, who is currently leading the GTD AM, but he has yet to make a pit stop, which is going to make it probably Zach Michaelis and Ed Eisenring fighting for that top spot of the AM podium. Ed's been up around there a few times, and I think it could end up being a pretty interesting race right there.
That's a good point. So Sherburne owes us one, but Michaelis is not far enough behind that he has to worry about being quick enough to re-overtake him. He is going to be our AM leader once the 007 pits in. Eisenring was much closer, I want to say. Actually, no, he's not that far behind. It's just they've got a whole bunch of GTD cars that are close together is what it is.
Yeah, there's a little happy party going on there with them. And there's a lot of traffic all around. Look at this. We've got so much mixed traffic here. GTPs. Oh, no.
One of the Audis getting shuffled off. That's Tom Hammond in the 63. And he's going to return to the track in a very sketchy spot. Tinsey and Williams with a great heads up to avoid hitting him, both of them inches away.
Yeah, that was a little crazy, but I think there may have been some anger involved in that maneuver. I can say I've probably done something quite similar. So, I can't say I blame him so much unless I was in one of the cars approaching, honestly.
Looks like finally got the pit stop for Chris Sherburne.
That car's pointed the wrong way.
Yeah, that was Marlowe, I believe, who's already, I think, a lap down from the leaders in his class. So he's been having a bit of a bad one. He was involved in the wreck at the start.
Oh, no.
Almost took out his teammate there. That would not have been very fun at all because that was another composite car. Or is that a satellite car? I'm getting them mixed up all the time.
Yeah, same here.
That was composite, excuse me.
That was composite. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was a little bit sketchy on that turnaround. He should have the ability to map a defeat of the traction control so he can just spin the car, just get a good kick of the rear end around. But not everybody maps all those kind of things on their steering wheel. So maybe next time he'll think about asking for some help on how to map one of those if he finds himself in that position again.
So he'd ask for the map maker to make him a map?
Yes, let's go with that.
coming down through the no-name corner once again as it is Michaelis there trying to let that battle through. Wasilewski overtaking Islam, but they're in two different classes, so all three sharing the track at once and using that paved runoff to good effect. Islam just basically dives off to try and avoid being involved in an accident there.
Yeah, smart move there from Mo Islam. You don't want to get caught up in something, and with all that paved area out there, go ahead and take the point, the slowdown, whatever you need. That's much better than having a crunched car.
Speaking of crunched cars, we've talked about the various incidents we've had. Attrition has been a bit hungry today. Vavrovsky is out of this race. Austin Diltz, Ryan Robertson, Leif Peterson, and Kevin Binkley out of our 40 starters. That's we're barely halfway through, so let's hope that rate will slow down.
This race, or this track, I should say, is well known as an attrition track. Normally, not just from incidents, but in real life, cars just get beat all to heck here. There's so much time full throttle, and there's such heavy braking zones. And things, when you go like through Eau Rouge, the amount of downforce and the squish that the car takes as it goes into Eau Rouge to go back up the hill to Radillon, it really just punishes these cars. So in real life, you get a little more damage for the cars. But here we are seeing probably about the same amount of attrition as we would in real life with car-to-car damage as well.
Schmudlock going to leave behind all these GT cars. Not all of them are fighting for position. Michaelis is actually being followed by Young Park, who is not on the same lap. Now he's going to actually pull aside so that Bidwell, who is chasing Michaelis, can go through. Got to give credit to Young Park, trying to get back out there and see if he can finish this race, because he knows that Ross Booth is now multiple laps ahead of him. He's got to minimize the damage as best as he can.
Every point counts. Something will happen somewhere in the later stages where you just got to keep putting those laps behind you. You got to keep going and going and going. You cannot stop. Even though you might be a couple of laps down, it is a position where you're going to get some kind of credit for it. So you got to take those points, because seriously, I've won by 1, 2, 3 points before over a season where honestly, I was like, I just don't want to finish this race, but I know I have to. And finishing that race, I got an extra couple of points and ended up winning a championship.
It all matters in the end. Billy Smith just gets by Zach Michaelis. Again, this is our AM leader in that Porsche, being chased by Ed Eisenring, who is overall in the GTD class 2 cars back, but second in GTD AM right now. He needs to catch and pass Bidwell so that he can directly try and fight the number 44. There's another car going by Young Park, just again, letting some of the cars that are a lap or two ahead of him to carry on through to continue their fight. Sheldon Rosenbaum is going to be the next one in that deep blue Ferrari.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous color on that Ferrari. I wish they came in that color in real life. I'd totally buy one. Yeah, I'd buy one. No, great looking car though. I do love that color. But meanwhile, these Porsches are really having a great time out there. If you look through the field, it's Porsche, Porsche, Porsche up and down. The Porsche seems to be the favorite car, especially towards the front of the field, except for Alex, who's sitting out front in the Audi.
I was going to say, except for the most important position, which is the lead of that class.
And honestly, 1, 2, and 3, we've got Audi, Porsche, and Ferrari. So, but the rest of that, like that whole next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so cars is all 911s.
Yeah, it does seem to be the preferred car this season. You always kind of get those swings and roundabouts as far as which car drivers tend to want to drive. And they can only change which make of car that they drive in this series a couple times. It usually depends on the build. And if iRacing does any sort of BOP, they tend to try and base it on how frequently iRacing does that, on giving drivers a chance to maybe make a switch if they feel like they have been unfairly disadvantaged by one of that BOP changes. But this man, Staropoli, right now would like a little bit more straight line speed to keep up with Simonic, and he's going to need to catch up by about 2 seconds at this stage. We are fully past the halfway point. Farthest we saw anybody go was, I believe, about 40 minutes. So once we get past that 40-minute mark, if anybody feels tricky out here in the GTDs, they could try and take a supremely early final stop.
It would be a pretty slick move to try to surprise some people that way. I get the feeling you'd need to be in like fifth, maybe where Gibson, Dornenberg, maybe Billy Smith, they would have an opportunity to do that, where it could work out for them. But you'd have to have just an amazing time and major luck through some of the traffic.
Yeah, I think that'd be the main hope, because usually we see drivers try to go long, that you get a big clearing and you could push hard. Meanwhile, Chris Pies is pushing hard to pass Mo Islam. This has been a fight that's been going on, and it's going to continue on, because as close as he got, he didn't try and make a move at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on up and down the field right now. We were talking earlier about that AM class battle where Eisenring was catching up to Michaelis, but while we weren't watching, Shelton Rosenbaum has caught up and is only about 3.5 tenths off of Ed Eisenring's tail. So that's going to shape up to be a really good race. Look at how close he's gotten here.
Yeah, and just a reminder, Rosenbaum also AM category, just like Eisenring. So that's a battle for second in GTD AM right now, and he looks very good under braking. That Ferrari just sucked up a ton of time coming down into the binders at Lecum.
I think the Ferrari, honestly, when I drive all these cars in the series, in the service iRacing, I get out there and everybody has a little bit different. The better braking seems to come from the Ferrari. The better rotation of the car seems to come from the Porsche. I actually like the Lamborghini for the way it comes off the corner. It just seems to have a better bite. Maybe that's because of that wonderful noise that it makes.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight in the back of that thing, but it does a fantastic job and looks very cool as well, I must say. Glad that they brought that one into the service, and I especially also like the newer Ferrari that they just released last year, which I got to see race over in SRO a number of times as well. But ooh, look at this. Speaking of the Porsches, got a little battle here between Michaelis and Bidwell. Remember, he can let Bidwell by, and it won't affect his class championship. But what Cameron is doing is acting as a buffer between himself and Ed Eisenring. If he can keep that Porsche behind him, that is one more car that Ed has to pass.
Yeah, Ed's having a little bit of a struggle here because Bidwell is definitely holding him up. Now, it's not by a lot. Eisenring's only he's under between half and a second off of him, and he may just be biding his time right here. Quite honestly, he doesn't need to move up yet. We still have roughly 40 minutes left in this race, so he's in a really good position. Just let things happen, let things unfold. Don't push too hard. Just go fast enough to stay right up where he is. He is close enough to really start to think about an attack when they have about 5 seconds or so. 5 laps or so.
I'm wondering if Ryan Wasilewski might be trying some of those fuel games we were talking about, because he just let Paul Gibson by on the Kimmel Straight. And there you can see the two of them together now. He's got to stay a little closer than that, though, if he wants to try and use the slipstream to pick up some time and fuel saving here. He's just a little far back to have that be very effective.
Now, I wonder if maybe going through Radillon, he caught a little bit of a timing error and needed to give up some time.
I checked.
That
he didn't.
Could be why. He didn't. Okay. Well, then I think you're right. It's probably some fuel-saving tricks that he's looking for right now. And he's about 8 tenths off. That's kind of close enough. I honestly, like you said, would want to be a little bit closer, but he's still able to save a little bit of fuel here. And with this GTD traffic ahead of him, this might help him be able to kind of keep that gap a little tighter.
It's not just GTD traffic. That's the LMP2 of Carter Kundinger, second in his class. And the other prototypes are going to be a whole different story. compared to trying to lap these GTD cars where they've got everything over them. The LMP2s, not so much. It's a much smaller difference.
Yeah, now we're getting here. The sun is starting to go down. It is evening for sure. This is starting to get dark here. Everybody's lights are on, and we're going to start seeing them light up the track in front of them as that sun comes down. Now, another thing that's going to happen is the track is going to start to cool off. It has already started just a bit, just from the sun not beating down on it, and we're going to see these cars get a little more grip, and we're going to see who planned for that and who didn't. Some people are going to have suspension setups that aren't quite right for this cooler track because they were trying to maximize the beginning of the race. Others are trying to maximize the end of the race and just kind of giving away a little bit from the beginning. So I think we're going to see a little bit of action here depending on who did what in their setup.
Kind of curious how much cooler it can get because it's already at 65 Fahrenheit, which is very low for iRacing. And I believe it can go lower, but there is actually a minimum that you can set it to start at. And I can't remember if it's at 65 or 62. It might be 62, as that's what the air temperature is right now.
I think it can go to the same as the air temperature, but I'm not 100% certain on that. But with that air temperature being so cool, these cars are loving it. They should be making a little bit extra horsepower. And anybody with a forced injection, like turbos that you might see on, say, a Ferrari, they're going to be pretty happy about now.
Absolutely. Being told 65 is the lowest you can set it at, 65 Fahrenheit. Now, you can have situations where it goes a little bit cooler, but iRacing doesn't like extreme temperatures. So you won't see it go all that much farther if it ever does. In the meantime, as they whoosh their way around Pouhon, or Double Gauche, as you like to call it, they are dealing with yet more traffic in here, and it looks like that this quartet is going to be left alone. But this, I believe, is currently being led by Michaelis still. Yeah, it's back to how it was not too long ago. Michaelis, Bidwell, Eisenring, Rosenbaum.
I think Rosenbaum has a little bit left to pull from, because watching this little grouping here, they're just kind of rolling through. You've got these three Porsches, and then you've got that Ferrari behind them, and the Ferrari is not using as much track, not pushing nearly as hard. I think Rosenbaum is going to unleash that Italian horse here shortly and try to work his way around these guys, because we've got about 35 minutes. Now's the time to start annoying someone like he's doing right there. See how close he got up under the wing? That's trying to make a little push. He's just showing those lights a little left, a little right, maybe in the mirror, then back to right, back left. But watch as he comes through here. He hasn't been using quite as much track as everybody else.
Thing that I love about this is in this shot here, that is the entire AM podium. Bidwell's the only one that's not an AM driver in this group. So this is going to be a fierce fight here. And for some reason, these AM races seem to always kind of spread apart at first, and then suddenly at the end, they always find each other. I don't know how.
It's the animal magnetism, I guess. You got to be an amateur animal to be in there. So, yeah, there is some kind of animal magnetism happening.
Clearly. And it's getting a little close between Bidwell and Michaelis. Oh, but he makes a mistake there coming off of Malmedy, so that will put him backwards once again. The car is starting to approach them as David Williams, up to second in that GTP class. Started today fifth, actually, so this has been a very great race for David Williams. He's going to get the next one and finally the last before they turn into Pouhon.
That was really good timing and well played from that little GTD crowd, that grouping right there. It could have gone poorly, but just managing that throttle as they come down, lift a little early, brake a little bit extra, that really helps with the timing. And he's going to recover anything that he lost by that little, maybe, I don't know, a couple 100 yards at least. Oh, no! Oh, no! Little bit off on that corner. Looks like he's going to get overtaken there. Wow, that's unfortunate. Bidwell gets around him. Michaelis is now in the clutches of Eisenring.
And sorry, that that was Paul Gibson going four wheels in the grass because Michaelis was trying to cover off his rivals. They are now 1, 2, 3 with nothing separating our podium in GTD AM. Is Eisenring going to go in the attack? Yes, he absolutely is. He's wasting no time, and that was a smooth pass, textbook maneuver.
Nicely done, Ed Eisenring. Well managed, well thought out. Just saw the opportunity there. Now, what's going to happen with Rosenbaum? Rosenbaum sitting back there. He's only a quarter second off. This is super tight. They've got a long straightaway, basically starting right here. This is where the hammer goes down. You do not lift until you get to the end of Kimmel Straight.
Interesting to note, Eisenring had the shortest pit stop out of these three, and by a pretty good margin too, I should say, almost 2 seconds quicker in the case of Eisenring versus Michaelis. So
quite a run though. Look at Michaelis taking that look out. He has overlap here, but Eisenring is trying to hold on to the inside. A little bit of door-to-door contact. Eisenring holding onto the outside. He's still got the inside as we come up through the last bit of this. Oh no, gets pushed around. That's a double hit on Eisenring.
Oh, and he drifts back across the track. Carter Kundir second, and the LMP2s clips him and gets into the wall a little bit. The car's still rolling, checking to see. He does not have a meatball flag, so it looks like he should at least be able to carry on. The question is he carrying any actual damage?
Sometimes it's hard to tell. There might be like a little wheel hit that affects something up front or in the back. So just because you can't see damage, which I'm looking around the car now, I don't see anything, but there could be a little something there. We're going to have to watch his lap times closely to be certain.
So here is the incident. And I was just thinking, as they were fighting so hard, that Rosenbaum's got to be thinking, keep at it, guys, keep at it. And there it goes. He gets one spot very easily.
I think Eisenring was trying to do the right thing there. He knew he was right in the middle of the track. And as we're on board here, watch this as he comes around. Oh no, there's a car right in the way. He was trying to get out of the way. I don't know if you can really fault Ed for that one, because he knew he was in a bad position. And he stayed where he was going to get T-boned. So getting off the track, I don't know. That's going to be a tough call for the stewards.
Yeah, well, the thing, though, is if he had hit the brakes, I think it would have been an easier time getting around him if you were Carter Kundinger. So I'm sure he would be arguing that case. But yeah, each side is definitely going to have to be trying to prove their point here if they have to go talk to them post-race. The good news is, for fans of Carter Kundinger, he is carrying on without coming into the pit. So if he does have damage, he must not feel like it's hurting his pace. The bad news is, with that little slowdown that he had, he's now up to 16 seconds behind our leader, Jeffrey Ooms.
Yeah, that last lap was about a 2:08, and I think some of that may have been partially the incident going off, trying to recover, and also making sure his car still is in good running condition. He has run as fast as a mid 2:03, so we need to watch closely on these next couple of laps to see if he's able to recover the speed he had earlier.
We watch these two battle now for 7th place, Mo Islam and Chris Pies, but still we're not seeing Chris Pies try anything up into Lacombe. I'm not sure if he's just comfortable sitting back here, if he can't seem to catch up as much as he'd like by the end of the straightaway to try an attack. Maybe he's waiting until later on as he goes way wide down through Rivage, through the marbles, and is going to lose a little bit of time there. Now they'll have to try and go by Ed Eisenring as well. And Ed's going to be able to at least let one by. He doesn't want to let the other by, and this slows them both down tremendously. Chris tried to get his nose in it. He did eventually, but that was costly.
Yeah, traffic is a real bear sometimes. Traffic can be your friend and it can be your worst enemy. Sometimes in the same race, you have to really learn how the other drivers are racing, how they're going to race you, and what's going on in their race. You need to be aware of this. So if I've got a live spotter working for me, they're paying attention to what else is going on in the track, what other races are going on. So if I'm coming up to an out-of-class race or they're coming up to me, I need to know what's going on. And sometimes you want to know who's your friend in that group and who you might want to compromise a turn on a little bit.
True. Speaking of compromising turns, that was Max Muir having to compromise with Carter Kundinger a bit as he exited from his pit stop. Max now ready to go to the finish from here. David Williams, his teammate, also did likewise in the 01.
Yeah, Williams back in 5th place right now. He's in a pretty good spot. I think he'll get a reasonable points haul. Right now, Williams is still about 12 seconds off of Muir. Now, Muir has done his final pit stop, as has Williams. We'll see how this shakes out. Currently, Paul Gibson leading the race with Wash right behind him and Dominic Durenberg. But those three still need to make their final pit.
I believe it was, Gibson was one of those that took a long first stop. So will he gain some of that time back? Muir with a 30.5, so another stop, I think, similar to what he had before. As we watch him come down, Gibson towards the pit entry. Will he pit in this time? No, he is going to stay out. He'll try to cut back underneath of Trent Brown, who actually, I can't believe Trent Brown is back out there. He was the car that was on his lid over the top of Radion at the start of this race.
Yeah, I think just trying to pick up a few extra points. Still in the AM class, there are about half a dozen or so AM class drivers, maybe 7. So any points you can haul in here, take them. Absolutely take them.
Car definitely a little off pace, I'm pretty sure, after that one. They spent some time repairing it. Looks like about 38 minutes of repairs that he took to try and get it back in working condition and on the circuit. That is dedication there, of never giving up. As we come back to Simonic once again, lead is actually only a second over Bradley Haley. Brad is kind of keeping him on his toes.
Indeed he is. This has gotten a lot closer. Bradley Haley is closing this up and keeping a respectful distance, not trying to make that pressure yet, but you're going to see it coming up here soon. We've got 26 minutes left in this race, and this is the time where you want to start making the other drivers question, what are you doing? What is your plan? Do you have the pace? So you're going to see probably little spurts of speed, little tests coming up here. So Alex Simonic is probably watching that gap behind him, making sure it sticks at those 8, 9 tenths it's been over the last couple of laps.
And I mean, Haley is no slouch. He is 9th all time on the winners list with 20 wins in this series in Autobahn. And that is with some pretty good company up there that he's with. Guys like Gerard, Billy Smith, Jason DeVries, Robert Tinsey as well. As we take a look back in on the GTD AM, and is this going to be a change of lead here soon? Rosenbaum is looking threatening.
Yeah, he is right at a 10th of a second. This is a good opportunity if he puts that nose out, but no, I think he's going to hold it as we come up in through No Name. This is going to be a great opportunity as we go into what I always call third gear corner because I can never remember the name of it, but every car I drive it is third gear going through it. So as we go through Double Gauche or Pujon, as you like to call it, we're going to see them try to open up, and a little bit of prototype traffic there, messing it up for him. I don't think Rosenbaum was quite ready for that. Rosenbaum, I think, wanted to make the move right here where that prototype is cutting up under him.
Wow, Sheldon probably did not appreciate that one. He was looking so close and so well set up, and he's got to regain all that time to get up to him. By the way, Paul Gibson has now pitted, and he is going to be well behind Max Muir, so he's not going to be a threat to him. But he will be fighting with David Williams. I can report. There they are on screen right now. That is David directly in front of him.
Yeah, David Williams is trying to open up this gap. He knows that that Gibson has just come out of the pits. So Williams is trying to make sure his nicely warmed up tires are doing what they're supposed to do, while those slightly cooled off tires of Gibson as he went through the pit rotation are trying to struggle and keep up. But it doesn't look like too much of a struggle. Gibson is really putting it to him.
To tell you the kind of lead that Muir has pulled from him to Williams is about 11.5 seconds. So Gibson probably not going to be fighting for the win on this one, although he did have a much shorter stop last time, 25 seconds compared to that to Williams, 33.3. So it did pay back for him, taking that long early stop, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to pay him back enough for a win today.
It was a decent call on the strategy. It could have worked out. It's just the other drivers had better luck in traffic when it came up to them.
Speaking of traffic, that is Carter Kundinger just in front of him. Probably doesn't want any more dramas than he's already had here today. In fact, I wonder if we'll see Carter try to come into the pits now that we're down to the last 22 minutes. He's going to stay out of the way for Williams. Gibson might get a little balked here. Oh, he tries to stay off of the apex, allows Gibson through. That's just going to make life no fun for both of them. And down into the braking, they all compress together, but nobody pits in.
Nobody pits in, and that's surprising. I would expect somebody to do that. Now, we were talking earlier about Kundinger having had that little incident with the little swipe on Eisenring. Now, his lap times have not suffered at all. He's running right around a 2:04, which is a very good pace, race pace for the person sitting in P2 right now. Now, Jeffrey Ooms, 2:03.7 on his last lap. 2:03.4 was his fastest. So 2:05 for Kundinger that time through. A little bit to do with the traffic. I don't think Kundinger is having any problems with that car at all.
No, it certainly doesn't look like it. I think he's got it under control. Mo Islam also pits in, so that's going to be his last stop as Paul Gibson continues to haunt Williams turn after turn, heading down through Rivage. Hasn't been able to get his nose in quite yet. Is he waiting for the traffic to give him a chance to make a pick, or is he just kind of sitting and waiting for a nice safe attack?
Well, this is a good opportunity here as we watch. He doesn't want to pass yet. He wants to take the opportunities where he's got a draft to help him get around. Now, this is the Acura versus Cadillac battle. The Acura, I have found personally, it fits my driving style better. These cars are all equally fast. You put someone who likes or drives the way it works best in the Cadillac, they are just as quick as I will be in the Acura. But out of all these cars, as much as I want to say the Porsche is the best one, honestly, for me, it's the Acura. And I think our standings currently are looking like that's true until Wash and Dornenberg go through their pit rotation, and it's back to the Cadillacs at the top.
By the way, Zach Michaelis has pitted, but Rosenbaum did not. They are going alternate strategy as we bang doors between the likes of Gibson and Williams, but Gibson comes out ahead, not taking no for an answer.
Yeah, good move there. Gibson able to get through there. That's good, tight, hard racing. I don't think anybody's going to have any problems with that. Now we're going to watch that Acura try to pull away, but you know, these Cadillacs are so fast in a straight line. He's going to have a challenge.
Certainly. And Gibson, though, definitely had to check up there. I went to take a second look at that pass, and that lapped car actually got in the way of both of them, but he had already made it through, so there's nowhere for Williams to go. In the meantime, now that they hit the brakes, yep, he was far enough ahead. Caddy couldn't do much on the Acura in a straight line. Looks like Brian Bennett has pitted along with Jeffrey Ooms. Okay, so our leader in the LMP2s now takes their final stop.
Interesting. That puts Carter Kundinger tentatively in the lead. I don't know how long he's going to be able to hold on to that. I think he is going to have to take another pit stop. He's done only one while Ooms is on his second. Ooms should be able to come back out and handily recover that lead.
Yeah, that'd be my anticipation, unless we missed something big there. That should be the situation. Rosenbaum's not going to pit this time. Wasilewski, though, will. So Ryan's going to give up the lead in the GTPs. Will Dornenberg follow? Yes, Dornenberg is going to be in. That means Muir will come back to the top spot.
Yeah, Muir trying his best to win this race in style. I think he's got it pretty well covered. He has just had lap after lap perfectly run, managing traffic beautifully. So I think we're going to be able to watch him make it all the way to the end.
In fact, just as Wash and Dornenberg were entering into their stalls, we could see Muir coming into the main screen and passing them by easily. Oof, down the hill. This is getting a little tight through here. This is Larson versus Dowd. Not the race I think Larson would have wanted, though. He's going to try to go the long way around and pin his rival in. He will. He'll go completely off the track, nearly losing control, but he'll get by.
That bump out there, you saw that car kind of try to do a Dukes of Hazzard version of the lap there, going airborne. That bump out there is designed to keep you from doing that, but hey, congrats on being able to get out there and hold on to that car through that kind of bumpy terrain.
We were so worried about Gibson versus Williams. Remember, Wash made his pit stop? Guess where he came out?
Oh, wow, look at that. Wash is in third place. Well done. So that's going to put, it looks like Mir in first, Gibson in second, Wash in third. We've got two Acuras on the podium right now with a Cadillac just breathing down the neck of Wash. So I think Williams is trying to make that push to get up in there. We're going to have a really tight finish across a couple of classes here.
And look at him go defensive coming down into Puhan. He was poor coming out of No Name. And now it is Gibson's turn as he goes very wide. Wash sees a chance. He's going to try and go around the outside through Fanyes. Can't quite get there. Opportunity swings to David Williams. He now goes around the outside. That switches to the inside of Stavilo, and he gets it done.
Wow, now down goes the hammer. This is the point where you're able to just put the pedal to the metal and hold on for dear life. Now they've got a GTD car in front of them. That little change there with the GTD car, that's Mark Kudrowski. They're all three able to get around Kudrowski, go through that little bend. Now is where it gets a little crazy. Watch for the dive to the inside. Oh, good move there. Kind of a fakey, a looky-loo. Try to get him to make a defensive move that he didn't need to make.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a fade I was kind of groaning about there. Williams had to chop off Wasilewski late. This time he can't. It's a straight line down to La Source. Gets his nose to the inside. Fights him back, but no, he cannot get it done. Better exit for David.
Yeah, Williams is just pushing as hard as he can. Wasilewski sitting right up under that rear wing. Can he hold on as they go through this nice little tight S? Now down the straightaway, puts his nose out to the left side, claiming that position. Now, is he going to be able to catch him in the braking zone? Offline, you've got to brake just a little bit earlier. It's going to be tight. Little bit of door-to-door action here, taking up that inside. Oh, spins him around. Not quite all the way. Fortunately, the aero on these cars makes it a little bit easier to recover from a situation like that.
Well, they were pushing the limits of what they could do there, given just a car's width to his rival and nothing more. And unfortunately, it wound up biting him when they went through the chicane. Like you said, he didn't spin fully around. He was about 2 seconds back. But you know who really loved that fight? That was Paul Gibson.
Yeah, Gibson's the one sitting there going, yeah, guys, keep going. Do that. More of that.
Look at that. 2 seconds ahead now. So he's not completely out of it. He's got 15 minutes, and he's got to keep this pace up and not allow Ryan to catch back up to him. But that's a handy gap. If he manages that well, that could be second place for the 31 here at the end.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty interesting race for the rest of the podium here. I think Mir obviously has got this wrapped up pretty well. Of course, commentator's curse is going to take away those 13 and a half seconds he currently has. But Gibson, Wasilewski, and Williams, I could go with any of those. Even maybe throw Dornenberg in there. We have a good race going on here. And with 14 and a half minutes left, anything can happen.
Well, the thing that just happened was Bradley Haley pitted, and Simonic did not. They were battling for the lead in GTD Pro. So Simonic probably due for his pit stop within the next 4 minutes, I would anticipate, based on the farthest that we saw anybody go last time out. You can see him on screen now as he gets passed by Robert Tinsey and Chris Pies in their own little battle.
Yeah, trying to take a look here. Looks like Ed Eisenring has caught back up to Rosenbaum and Michaelis. So this race... no, sorry, I was misreading the timing.
In the pits, yeah.
Yeah, that was in the pits. So Michaelis and Rosenbaum still holding on to a pretty tight race here.
Actually,
I'm not sure.
That's Rosenbaum jumping him in the pits. He's ahead of him now, but it's not by a lot. Michaelis has to repass him and get ahead, and he's got a good chance to do so. Let's see what's going to happen as Rosenbaum is playing hard defense down the Kemmel Straight, forcing him to go the long way around. Last time we saw this, 2 cars came together. This time, though, it's going to stay respectful.
Yeah, I think he's just testing the waters. But, you know, Rosenbaum was sitting back there for so long, not really using all the track, not really pushing the car as much as he could. And now he has some tires left over, and he's able to put on a little bit stronger attack, a little bit stronger defense, and may be able to keep Michaelis off of his tail. He's already opened it up to about 0.6 here.
And the good news for them is that Eisenring's issue from before means that he's 14 seconds behind them. So he's not really a factor as it stands right now. The traffic continuing to scythe past them. Billy Smith having to pick and choose his way through the battle for the class lead here. Rosenbaum trying to see if he can get a win, but he has scant little room for any sort of mistake here. He has got to be perfect.
And right in front of them there, that is Trent Brown, suffering from the scratches on the hood, on the top of his car. Let's see if that has any effect on his ability to keep out of the way going down the straight. Nope, he is doing the right thing. He knows these guys are in a very heated battle and wants to sit back and not get in the way, not be one of the story makers here.
The wins for Rosenbaum have been few, but they have been there. 3 to his name in his time he's been in Autobahn. I'm not sure when the last time we saw a win from him was, though. So this is probably a long time coming. I think last time I looked earlier in this broadcast, he's only taken a 3rd place, if I remember correctly, this season as his best. Very wide coming out of La Source, but that won't slow him down. Michaelis was not able to capitalize.
Yeah, that's a place where going wide doesn't really help you, but it can actually hurt you because you can get a slowdown penalty if you go out a little bit too wide out there. It doesn't look like he got one, though, because he is holding on to that gap and not letting Michaelis catch up to him this time.
Yeah, it definitely didn't tell him to give the time back, so it was considered fair for him. He's got to defend for 11 minutes to bring home the class win up against Zach Michaelis. Man, they don't even have Tom Hammond, who's out of their class, and the next car back, he's like 6 seconds to make up to them. This is Alex Simonik, though. He has made his pit stop, and it looks like he came out ahead of Bradley Haley by about 1.5 seconds. So we missed when that happened, as it looks like actually it was this past lap, so that's when it happened. And Staropoli, now he was also in this fight a little bit. He's pitting now. How is this going to wind up?
Yeah, we've got Simonik about 9 seconds back, 8 seconds back. I think this is going to be a pass here because I don't think Staropoli is going to be able to get out of the pit and down the Kemmel Straight in time to be part of this. He needs something to happen. He needs Simonik and Haley to start battling so he can get in there and be part of it. If these two that you see on your screen right now don't start going at it hammer and tongs, Staropoli's going to have to hold on to a distant 3rd.
Yeah, you're right. I'm seeing the time kind of settle itself out. Looks like about 4 seconds to make up. So, yeah, he was just a bit far back. That said, Eric had the quickest stop out of the 3 of them by about 0.5 seconds. So he played his cards well, just not quite good enough. He does indeed need Simonik and Haley to start going at it a little bit to try and regain what time he's lost over the course of this race. Even still, I have to say, about 5 seconds total between the top 3 in GTD Pro. That is a pretty close race in 90 minutes.
For a 90-minute race, that's amazing. I mean, this is nothing short of what we saw at Daytona a couple of years ago with the 2 Corvettes that finished, what was it, 0.3? No, less. It was less than 1/10, if I recall correctly. After 24 hours, they went across the start-finish line, and it was just a whisker between them.
Yep, this is going to be absolutely tight as we watch Simonik lead Haley currently. The Audi has at times seemed pretty fast. Can the Ferrari keep up and try to put the pressure on here? Or will traffic maybe give him an opportunity? Trying to see if they've got anything coming up. Billy Smith is going to be the next one approaching them, probably on the next lap.
Yeah, and how Smith is able to get in between them and either help or hinder one of them. It won't be intentional, I don't think. But, ooh, look at that. Taking a little bit of grass on the outside going into that corner. That's pretty dangerous. I don't like to touch the grass out there, not just in iRacing, but in real life. That will really mess you up.
Yeah, they have changed the grass in semi-recent times here, so it's slightly grippier than it used to be. But yeah, I'm with you. I would not want to tempt fate, frankly. And looks like Mo Islam and Robert Tinsley are not going to give us a chance to look away. These two have just not been able to separate from one another.
Yeah, they're trying to put on a really good show for us. And Tinsley is just under a second off of Chris Pies in front of him. So that could be a three-way battle for 6th in the LMP2s.
Watching them as they come down into Stavelo once again. Just another little slight downhill before it's back uphill for them here, all the way climbing to the bus stop chicane. And they stay within a few car lengths of one another here on this fast portion of the track. Not sure if this is enough, unless he's going to really send one. He's showing himself, but looks like he's not close enough.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to at least put a little bit of questioning in him, making these little bit. See how he's kind of poking out there, filling up that one side mirror, and minor defense, kind of halfway playing at a defense. Now they come out of La Source, the hammer goes down. This is where you really want to be. I don't think he wanted to pass him before. This is the spot where he's going to get that nice draft, and once they go through Radillon and stabilize the car, now he's got a big launch down Kemmel Straight. But Mo Islam, I think, or Robert Tinsley, has a little bit of draft off of that GTD car as well.
I think that helped him. That might make the difference here. And again, Mo is going to try and see if he can distract him, showing his headlights in the mirror, but nothing doing. And they do not go side by side this time through. Let's not forget, that's Chris Pies in front of him. That's also for position.
Yeah, Chris Pies having a reasonably easy drive, but that's what I'm saying is right here we've got this battle for 6th is going to happen. I think they're going to try to close it up on Chris. Chris is just going to sit there and try to just tick off laps and let them battle each other. Hopefully, battling each other will keep them from catching him.
Here's what's interesting is they're going to get passed by Muir here pretty soon, so they're not going to get an extra lap around as it stands. This might end a little bit sooner than they may have anticipated, yet more of the traffic causing consternation as they get checked up. That's Tom Hammond just in front of them. Tinsley gets a little bit loose. That might hand it over. They're going to make a little bit of contact. Mo Islam, and just behind them, Max Muir is saying, guys, I built a lead. I don't need these sorts of problems.
He's trying to sneak through there pretty quickly. That was kind of crazy. I was going to say a gutsy move. That was a crazy move from our overall leader there. I don't know if I would have put the nose in when you've got a 9.5 second lead. Not really necessary at that point. So I think he's maybe trying to work for time, maybe trying to get some people off their game because he's getting an extra lap in there for them.
I think Mark Kudrowski may have had an issue because he sounded slightly irate over the radio. And I think David Williams made contact with him, it looks like. So that one probably going to get looked at post-race. In fact, I think Kudrowski is damaged because he's come off the track again. It looks like he's parking it and has taken a tow. Here we go again between Islam and Tinsley. But I think, and completely off into the grass there for Mo Islam, trying to shorten that little kink onto the Kemmel Straight. It'd be a bit too much.
Yeah, but that one surprisingly doesn't really mess with you. There's a bunch of brick on the inside of that corner there you can use, and it's pretty grippy. Now, the problem they have is that Porsche you see with those yellow lights, that's going to throw them off their line coming into the corner. with that Porsche back there. So Mo Islam and Robert Tinsley able to get around Zach Michaelis. Zach Michaelis currently P2 in our AM class of GTD, with a bit of a gap between him and Sheldon Rosenbaum.
I think this time at the line it's going to be 2 to go, it looks like. Yeah, because they should be able to get there before the 2-minute mark, since they're running about 1:58 at the front of the field. And there is your leader right now, Max Muir, still at 10 seconds ahead of Paul Gibson, who's not out of the woods. Wash is still just all over the back of him.
Yeah, Wash is really trying to put the screws to him here. I think we're going to see Wash try to make a move. There is time. We've got about 3 minutes left in this race. That's going to be a little over right about 2 laps. So depending on how the timing works out, I think he's got a chance to really, really push Gibson. So let's stay tuned. Watch this space to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you saw right there that the traffic can cause all kinds of problems in there. Leader got the 2 to go signal that time by. Drivers have limited opportunities left. If you're fighting with someone, if you feel like you got a shot, you need to take it soon. Oh, and David Williams was turned around. He got punted by Dornenberg, so that was for position.
It'd be interesting to see what happened there. I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that, but I didn't actually catch that. It was kind of lights flashing in the corner of my eye. Let's take a look at it here as they come up into, little bit of a push. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that one. That's maybe a little overslowing. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It's still the car behind's responsibility to try and stay clean. So he'd have a hard case, I think, to try and say that that one wasn't his fault. It all depends on if they feel like he needs a penalty for that. Meanwhile, back to the battle for P2. Dornenberg way behind them, especially so now because of that little contact he made, having to check up. And with 1.5 minutes left, they're going to see the white flag as they start to reach that finish line. Robert Tinsley is in front of them. His battle with Mo Islam is now over.
Yeah, I'm sure he's happy to see that one end. That was kind of crazy. There's about 3 seconds between them. But meanwhile, Mo Islam trying to push up on Chris Pies, only about a second off of Chris Pies. So like I was saying, that's a battle for P6 in class. Chris Pies wants to hold on to those points, but Mo Islam is going, no, I'll take those if you don't mind.
So not settling for where things were as down into the chicane. White flag held aloft. Max Muir with 1 lap to go, trying to add to his tally of wins.
Yeah, Wasilewski, meantime, is closing up this gap on Paul Gibson. He's down to about 3/4 of a second. He needs to make something happen real soon. He's got 1 lap to finish this off because this is the last lap. So let's watch here and see what happens if Gibson makes any bad move. If he puts one wheel in just a tiny bit of a wrong place, that's going to give Wash the chance to come through.
He's going to hold him to it. He's going to make him fight for it. That is for sure. As we watch them come down the Kimmel Straight. Doesn't look like he's nearly close enough this time, and he's getting a bit of a tow from that is Christopher Pies, actually, in the LMP2. Oh, and it's going to hold up Wasilewski. No place to go. Frustration right at the end of the race.
And Chris has a race. That wasn't Chris doing anything wrong. Chris has a race. Like we were just saying, Mo Islam is catching him. But now he's about 1.2, he's got a good bit of a gap on him right there, which is now down to about 0.8. So that cost Chris Pies a little bit of time. So he definitely has a race going on.
Down to the bottom of the hill now. Not much left in this one. There you can see Max Muir, who is just once again having to pick his way carefully past a little bit more traffic. He already had plenty of scares, doesn't need any more. He entered today's race a mere 2 points ahead of Dominic Dornenberg. He failed to capitalize on Dominic not showing at Watkins Glen. Finished poorly there. Today, he is not going to let anything come between himself and the win as he takes victory at Spa.
Nicely done, picking his place in traffic there. Very well done. Nice job from Max Mir at the finish. Just choosing the battle, not trying to push too hard to get through there. And it looks like, I want to say Simonik just finished as well. Simonik actually lifted a little bit there at the end to make that happen. Now we're going to go to GTD AM. There's Sheldon Rosenbaum coming down into this last little bit of the course. He's going to come up to the bus stop after he goes through this kink. Now, right here, it's time to, just to maybe a little lift, take it a little easy. He's got a big gap to Zach Michaelis behind him, a little over almost 4 seconds up through this final corner here.
Sheldon Rosenbaum. When was the last time we saw him on the top step? For now, it's today as he takes victory at Spa. So, as you mentioned, did Alex Simonik in GTD Pro, and then Jeffrey Ooms is going to be the last amongst the cars actually to come across the line as he will take victory over in the LMP2s. Looks like Kundinger and Cast will join him on that same lap.
Yeah, Kundinger and Cast still out there. The rest of the LMP2 field, 1 lap back. So that's Fischer back to Schmudlock. So Jeffrey Ooms, as we see, flashing the lights, coming across to take the win here at Spa. As we watch the rest of the field come across the line here, beautifully done. Nice shot there of Jeffrey Ooms, our LMP2 winner. We're going to catch the final results here. Oh, are we going to get some donuts maybe? Oh, could it be? No, just a little back and forth. Happy to finish the race. So beautiful racing done by everyone as we finish in the dark. Our overall winner in GTP, Maximilian Mir in the Cadillac. Started P2, ended up P1. Then Paul Gibson, P2, Wasilewski in P3. Durnenberg fourth, Williams, Smith, Dowd, and Larson. Good battle back there between Dowd and Larson throughout the whole race. Next, we've got Jeffrey Ooms in the LMP2, Carter Kundinger right behind him, P2, Cast in P3, finishing out the podium. Finishing out there is going to be Fisher, Bennett, Pies, Islam, Tinsley, and Schmudlock for the LMP2 class. Now, for the GTD class, we have Simonik, Haley, and Starpoli on our podium. Now, that is 3 different cars. We've got an Audi, a Ferrari, and a Porsche, 1, 2, and 3. Michael Ross brings in P4, Bidwell P5. Now, next car, that Ferrari of Sheldon Rosenbaum, that beautiful blue Ferrari, P1 in the AM class with Zach Michaelis not too far behind him. Tom Hammond in the Pro class behind them. Ed Eisenring finishing out the podium in the AM class with Smith, Green, Booth, Sherburne behind him. And then as we go on, the rest of the field, Kudrowski, Park, Marlowe, Margarella, Brown. And then we have cars. Yeah, most of the rest of these are DNFs. So that's going to do it here for a few minutes. I think we're going to take a quick break, and then we will come back with interviews, or we will go straight into interviews. If I take a look at who we have here waiting in the booth, we're going to talk to Alex, our LMP2 winner, our GTD winner. So, Alex, quite the race, beautiful finish. It looked like you had things well in hand through the through the rotation of the pit. Did that race work out the way you wanted it to?
Yeah, I went into qualifying without putting any effort into the qualifying dock, and I had just a miracle lap and I put it on P2. I saw the hole open up in turn 1, so I sent it. And Brad and I played a little fuel strategy near the end. I was going across the line with 0.9, 0.8 laps left consecutively as we're nearing the end, and I realized very quickly that it's not going to be 1 lap to go, it's going to be 2 laps to go. And so I was just watching my relative for Max to come.
So is that why at the end there you saw Max coming up? It looked like you came out of the final bus stop and just really lifted hard to let him get past you so you wouldn't have to do another lap.
That's exactly right. And I was kind of doing that throughout the entire lap in case he wasn't going to catch us. But after, I think it was after Puhan, I saw Brad lifting a lot more. And so I just started lifting even more. And as soon as we came through the kink, he fully lifted, and I was just watching Max the entire time.
So Max kind of saved the day for you there,
Definitely
being able
did.
to do that. But beautiful race, start to finish. You really seem to control it in the Audi. The Audi speaks to you. I think you just had good control in it. Who do you have to thank for today's win?
Definitely WSR Esports. I've been out of the sim racing scene for a few years, and they picked me up. So I'm really happy to be a part of their organization along with our main title sponsor, Buck Kicker.
Well, there you have it. That is your GTD winner, Alex Simonik. Great job start to finish. But now I think we're going to take a quick moment to talk to our GTD AM winner, Sheldon Rosenbaum. Sheldon, welcome to the booth.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So first, I love the color on your car. I know it's kind of a dorky thing to say, but that blue, it's just kind of hypnotic almost. Did it have a hypnotic effect on your opponents, which allowed you to get around them so easily?
It must have freaked them out. I don't know why I got around them, but I'll take it any way I can get it.
So it looked like I had commented probably 30, 45 minutes from the end of the race. It looked like you weren't really pushing the car that hard. You were in that grouping where there were the three of you on the AM class and then one pro class car right with you. And you looked like you weren't using all the track. You were just kind of, I'll pedal a little bit here. I'm going to lift a little there. Like you had something waiting for them. Is that what was going on?
Yeah, that's what I was planning. Truth be told, I was hoping they'd take each other out and that I could drive by. But I was just saving it and waiting. I figured I could probably get them at the last lap if I had to. But yeah, it just worked out.
It seems to have worked. That was pretty nicely done. So good race all in all. You didn't have to wait for them to take each other out. Well, I think there was a little bit with Ed Eisenring, got a little bit sideways and some contact. But what are you looking for at VIR?
Oh, VIR, I just want to finish. That's all. Just stay off the grass.
VIR, yeah, it's the ice grass is what I always call it at VIR. I don't know if they fixed it in the most recent update. I'm hoping they did because there are some spots at VIR where it is helpful to touch that grass a little bit. So yeah, hopefully it works out for you and you do at least get to finish. But I'd like to see you on the podium again. What do you think the chance is?
I think the chances are fair. I just got to keep it clean and stay off the grass, and maybe I can do it.
And don't change the color of that car because it's hypnotic. It gets them every time.
Absolutely.
Who do you have to thank for today's win?
I thank my wife and my family for putting up with me and letting me come in here and do this.
Well, thanks, Sheldon. Glad to see you out there. That was a wonderful race. But we're going to go on now, and I think we're going to have a talk with our LMP2P2, Carter Kundinger. Carter, wow, what a race. There was one really scary point where you had a little bit of contact with Eisenring while he was trying to get out of the middle of the racetrack, and you had to go wide around him. What was happening? What was going through your mind at that point?
Honestly, Michael, it was one of those, spotter said wreck ahead, so I'm preparing myself for what's about to happen, and then I see his car sideways, and I mean, I'll have to go back and look, but part of me thinks he just kind of rolled back, just with the natural momentum of the car, because it was one of those, I could kind of see that his car was pointed a little bit to the left there, and I was just hoping and praying he was going to stay there, and then he just started rolling out, so I tried to avoid it as much as I can. I think I did a pretty good job, just caught the wall a little bit, gave me a little bit of damage, but I think the worst part about all of that, honestly, is I had a 0x leading up to that point, and I was doing so good with the X's at Spa, which is honestly a miracle for me, and it was just that moment right there. That's basically all I had right there, so, you know, if if I wouldn't have just been in the wrong spot right there at the wrong time, who knows, I'd be coming out with 3 extra bonus points.
Yeah, well, coming out of Spa with 0x, no incident points, that's almost impossible in my book. I don't think I've ever had a race at Spa in the sim where I was able to make it through. Maybe a practice or something, but never a full race. So another interesting place is where we're going next, VIR. You can pick up a lot of incident points there too, and when you hit that grass, boy, is it mean. What do you think your chances are there?
Yeah, I'm honestly super excited for VIR. It's when I was putting together the schedule, VIR was one of those wild card tracks where it's like, you know what, let's do it, right? It's not a track you normally do multi-class at, and honestly, it's one of my favorites on the service. I love the flow of it. I think a lot of people will agree with me there. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very different, to say the least. I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm going to put a handful of laps of practice in, and hopefully, I like getting podiums. Don't get me wrong. Second place is always an awesome finish, but there's just something about always losing to Ooms every week. It's biting me so bad. So it would be really nice to get a win, and I think VIR would be a really great place to do it at.
VIR is a wonderful place. One of the teams I race for is based out of VIR, so I've got a lot of time there. I love racing that track. We test everything from prototypes down to just whatever little spec Miata kind of thing is going on. So you can do anything there. So if you believe, we're just going to go a little Peter Pan here. Just believe it's going to happen. I think you're going to get it.
Sounds good. I'll put that in my playbook for 2 weeks. Just believe. If I believe I win, I'll win.
Yeah, we could also go Ted Lasso on that one with the believe sign. I think that'll work out as well. Just put a little believe sign up on top of your monitor. Who do you have to thank for today's P2?
Yeah, honestly, I have to thank the team, Composite Performance. All the guys are awesome. Specifically, Robert Cast. I came into this a couple days ago, started practicing for this, and I was struggling so bad. And he sat me down. He understood that, all right, I'm probably helping the competition here, but, he's struggling. So I do really have to thank him for getting me up to speed and finding some things that I need to work on. And, also our sponsors, Grid and SimLab, everything they do for the team. And it's just a whole team effort always in Autobahn.
Well, thanks, Carter. Looking forward to seeing you next time at VIR. That's going to be all from us here today, though. I'd like to say thanks to the team, Zach behind the scenes, and Joe Peak, our lead announcer. Up next, as you heard, VIR, March 11th, 9 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you at the track.